10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Like this. Baby, you a heart stopper.
Woke up in my city, yeah, I feel like Big Papa. I feel like Big Papa.
Nah, you gotta go like this, and like this. Baby, you a heart stopper.
Woke up in my city.
So hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for yet another episode of W.A.G.E, Women Advocating for Gender Equality. We have a dynamite show. We have meshed 3 different topics together. The first topic is going to be about polygamy. It's going to be part 3 of the show that we started last week in reference to whether or not it's womanizing or is it an option for our community to try to just salvage some type of concrete family structure once again. Or in the second, not or, but and the second topic is going to be on the contract of marriage. We're going to talk briefly on that topic before we dive into just the whole cosmology part of us being women. Who are we? What does that have to do with the universe, right? So we're just going to be transferring some wonderful information. We have 2 fantastic panelists joining us tonight, expert panelists. They're going to share some information and, pretty much it's just giving you the shovel so you're going to dig. So in a few minutes, we're going to start our show off. And again, thank you for joining us here at W.A.G.E. So hello. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the first panelist we have, our Newark's own favorite, Miss Ayo Peterson. Hello, Ayo.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to hear you weigh in with your thoughts on the topic. And now we're going to introduce our wonderful guest appearance, a wonderful guest appearance we have tonight from Tuaku Ra 4. So we're going to bring him to the set. Hello, how are you?
Hello, how are you doing? Hello.
Listen,
good afternoon or good evening, rather.
Sure.
How you going?
So glad you're here. Listen, we're going to get started off right away. So the first thing, this is actually an ending, a conclusion to part 3 that we started last week with polygamy, womanizing versus, is this really an option for us? If you could just give us some of your thoughts on that, some of your expert thoughts on that. Is polygamy something that we should be exploring as a community to raise family community or?
Well, I think that polygamy without knowledge, like the real knowledge of what it is and what the history of it was as far as what our ancestors did with it, without having that knowledge, I think it would be a little dangerous to do. Because, at the end of the day, I did watch some of the podcasts and Rod Khan was saying, we deal with the womanizing thing and we have generations of it, from slavery on, So, that would be, it wouldn't come out right because, then we have the self-discipline aspect of it too. That, even I think I got problems with. I think a lot of us men got problems with, just keeping it fair and real, and just like I like polygamy, right? The history that I know about polygamy is during wartime, if a lot of men were dying, the men would take on the dead husband's wife, and sometimes it's brothers that would take on his brother's wife if the brother died in war. Or something like that, or maybe someone else in the community died and he take on that man's wife and the children as being their father. So that's what we were doing with that. And then I heard, a little about polyandry on your set too. And the history of that was coming from when there wasn't enough women, and in ancient times and even to today, there's countries in Asia where the girl comes out the womb and they smother the baby girl. So at that point, they started having less females in their community to the point where the women had to marry two brothers. So two brothers would have to share a wife because of that. Because what they did, they started to have less count of women in the community by doing that. So that's where polyandry actually comes from. See, just like polygamy, if it's less men because men dying in war, and polyandry is the same thing, but it's just opposite effect. Because now you have the girls dying because they certain populations in Asia didn't want to birth many girls; they wanted boys. And what happened was, because it was dangerous for them to do that anyway, according to nature. But when they did that, it reversed the effect of things where the women had to take on two husbands. And I hear women talking about this polyandry thing. I'm like, it make me laugh when I hear it because I'm like, nobody's doing the research. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Well,
nobody's doing it. Everybody just want to do it because it looks good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So when something starts trending, basically you're saying like people are kind of just jump on the train for it, but not necessarily doing it to find out should I make this decision or not.
Yes, you got to do the work these days. You just can't. And lately when I be seeing like advertisement or whatever for polygamy and even conversation on it, it looks so much in the sexual nature. It's like it look more like jumping off. Like, you see a guy with two women, he's like, oh, threesome. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And then you see a woman talking about, I want two husbands. I'm like, oh, threesome. It looked like some ex-hamster porn stuff or something, Looks crazy to me. No, it really do.
That's true.
And just imagine what other people think,
And then you have the aspect of, right, they're in this polygamous relationship. So if you have two wives, right? Oh, okay, right. But then you're cheating outside of that too. So you have that situation that occurs, correct?
Yeah. Well, that comes from the perversion. Like, just, okay, you got this happening. I could do more. You think you could just have everything. I mean, you got that side of that too. But us men here in America are dealing with that. I think one of the biggest problems for our men is like this perversion thing and the sexual thing, like, and it's all over the place. It's nothing to get mad about because, I mean, to be honest with you, man, they start perverting our kids as little boys when you look at the TV and listen to what's on the radio, and we all had to come up here in America under that. So that's one of the things we would definitely have to break. And just to deal with polygamy, at this point, yes, we are in wartime. We're losing a lot of our men, but we're also starting to lose a lot of our women too. You see what I'm saying? Because women are getting shot, women are shooting women are going to prison. You see how this thing is turning? It's getting very dangerous.
Right.
And then we talking to polygamy and polyandry with womanizing men and women that look at polyandry as a perverted situation.
Share with us again.
Not thinking of it like, huh?
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I wanted you to share with us because we have a lot of people who've joined the discussion on what polyandry is, or polyandry. Because I had never heard of
polyandry. What polyandry or polyandry, I mean, but it's just a woman having two husbands.
Yeah.
And there's situations like that, but when people don't know the history of how that comes about, it ain't just a choice you make. This is like wartime thing, you know what I'm saying? Where the men they was killing the girls at birth because they wanted more boys because they wanted to make more soldiers. You see what I'm saying? And what it did, it lessened the population of the women.
Right. What do you say? No, I get it. What do you say to the person who insists that this is not just about a wartime strategy to salvage families, but it was our culture? I've heard that argument being put on the table before, that this was a culture before we recognized what our culture actually was. What do you think about that?
Well, when you really look at it, like when you look at our history, we was always in some kind of wartime with each other, with other fractions from other places. We were the people that had all the land and all the resources. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it was always a time like that. So polygamy for us it always has been. It was always the aspects of that there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, And we're in that sort of time now, but the other aspect of polygamy is also surviving together, everybody doing their part. It's not the man, he takes care of all the women unless he's some kind of king. Kings do that. And these men be talking about, yeah, I'm gonna be polygamous, and I'm gonna take care of all my wives. Yo, if you're not a king or no rich man, that's not a position for you to be in to do that. But polygamy on another aspect, with all of us working together as a family unit, that works. But the perversions and everything got to come out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's certain things that have to come out of it. It has to be a disciplined situation in some aspects, at least some aspects. You know.
Right. Facts. I agree.
To show that it's real. To show that it's real, because it seems so fake to me.
It doesn't seem real. But some people are living this lifestyle now, so I don't know.
Yes, they are. Yup. And I'm hearing a lot of people breaking up, people leaving the set, and all kinds of stuff. But then you got some that actually works, and more power to them. And some of these guys got money to pull it off. More power to them. But then we got the ones that just want to do it because it looks good.
Listen, Lafi Shakur, who's one of our members in our audience, she's asking, what country are you actually referring to? She'd like to know.
Places in Asia and Malaysia and things like that. Okay. Malaysia, some places in Pacific Island. If you research, they're doing a lot of that over there. A lot of them don't want the boys. I mean, they don't want the girls. They was trying to raise a lot of boys to raise soldiers.
Well, also, okay. I was gonna say also in India and in China, they
China, they're another one that's doing it.
Of having like the one child rule back in the day when we were younger. They had the one child rule. So what was happening is if a girl was born, like was said earlier, they were killed. And the same thing in India.
Yes.
So in India, there are instances where one girl is marrying 17 men because there are not enough women to go around because they valued men more.
You go.
So they killed the baby girls. So it all goes back to imbalance. There's no need for polygamy if there's balance. And like was said before, the whole thing with polygamy was in times of war when there was an imbalance in the population. What people are not, like, with the whole history of it, what people are not getting into, it has nothing to do with the perversion that people attach to it. It has to do with balance. There's an imbalance. So we're trying to make a good situation out of a bad one. So this family over here is lacking a father, a husband, a male role model. So we will adopt that family into ours. That's basically the overall, but that's not the way it's being practiced, and it never has been. And another thing that was said earlier is the whole thing with polygamy was mainly for a king or a wealthy man in the past. That was the people who did it. And with polygamy, and I've asked this question to brothers, and they're not too, excited about it when I put it this way. I said, with polygamy, there's also I'll say like for a king who has a harem, there's also a eunuch who has to guard the harem. And what happens is with polygamy and the king or a ruler or a leader or someone with money is that creates an imbalance for the men in the kingdom, because the king has several different wives. He's not trying to share any of them. So to guard the women, somebody has to be the eunuch. So somebody has to, you know what I mean?
I got to guard the harem.
Let me interject right here. I like what you just said because it sounds very commonsensical, right? Somebody has to guard the unit. That just makes common sense. What are we experiencing, right, when we have so many single parent households and we see so many of our children out in the street and there's no one guarding the unit? So do you think that could be a reason why the discussion of polygamy is actually coming back into trending into the conversation?
Are you asking me or?
Well, I'll start with you.
Okay, I'll answer it. the way I see it is, it's not even a trending thing, because I've noticed this for, I guess, the past 10, 15 years. People have been trying to bring it back up over and over again. It's an issue of breaking down the family structure. That's what it all boils down to.
Right.
It's breaking down the family structure. Because like I said, polygamy is for a time of war. And yes, we have been in some type of war from, for ages, but the justification for polygamy is if there's an actual lack of men. At the current time, we have a surplus of men, but you would never know it, being the way our society is set up. We have a surplus of men between the ages of, I think, 15 and 40. And we have another issue now with incels and men going their own way because of that surplus of men. And because people have been brainwashed to gravitate to, quote unquote, the alpha male, which is usually an amoral, whoremongering man that they put on a pedestal and said, this is the type of man you should be with, kind of thing. But I'm sorry.
Be very clear.
I try not to. But anyway, getting back to the whole polygamy thing, it's not a trend. It's just something to break the family structure down. It's another arsenal in their way to destroy our community. That's all it is. Polygamy, prostitution, pedophilia, all that stuff is just breaking down our community. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I totally agree. It's like they're using the history against us, exploiting the facts. You know what I'm saying? That's what I think that they're doing. And to be honest, she's right, because it's really not trending like that at this point. It's really not. There's so many women that don't want to do that. Seriously, there's a lot of women that do not want that. You see what I'm saying? So right there, you can tell that it's not. Yeah, some do. Yeah, the numbers is there for that, but there's a lot of them that's still saying, no, I can't share a man. I can't see myself doing it. You see what I'm saying? You still got people saying that.
Look,
so I mean, it's probably trending, but it's not trending crazy though. You know what I'm saying? Not yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I guess from the point it's trending, at least on a social level these days, is
we're talking about it and all that, definitely.
Right.
I agree with that.
Television with what is it, Sister Wives, and again, this is something watch had it not come up in conversation, and we presented it, in the show last week, and it made it look in a way, right, that this was something that we shouldn't even be considering. But I have heard this put out there by people who are very serious about salvaging the community, and that's why, like, it's really surprising the perspective that Ayo has shared on it, and you as well, that this is something that just would not work. So on that case, that issue, I would like to say that anybody who would like to come on this show, send me an email. If you guys know a couple or a family this is working for, we'd love to hear your story. But I want to move on now to the next topic: marriage. Marriage. There's some people who don't believe in marriage. They feel like it's a systematic contract, and if they're with a woman, they're providing for her, the kids, that shouldn't be a problem. I just like to get your thoughts on that. Is marriage something that the family should be doing, or is this something that is just conducive of the government, profitable to the government some way, and it really doesn't serve us? What are your thoughts? And I'll start with Ayo, and then I'll go to 12.
Okay, that's a good question. And the way you posed it is really good too, because marriage is a union that is beneficial for society. But the problem is, like you said, with the contract. The marriage contract now involves the government. When you get a marriage license, it's not a union with two people anymore. It's a union with two people and the government. And because the government is involved with it, then the government has say or sway in your marriage. So that's where the problem comes in. A marriage is supposed to be between a man, a woman, and God, or whoever they believe in. That's who a marriage is supposed to be between, and it's supposed to be witnessed by their community and family members.
Right.
So that's what gives it legitimacy. But in today's age in America, what we have is marriages that include the government. And that's where the issue comes in, because then the government can say, oh, I don't like the way you're raising your children. I'm going to take your children away from you. Or I don't like what you're doing here, so I'm going to punish you for this because you have given the government access to a union that has nothing to do with them. So a way around that, like you said before, is what people do is they'll do a contract, or they'll have their own marriage deed, but they won't have it with the government. You see what I'm saying? They'll do it outside of the government, where it'll be.
So do you think? I'm sorry. Do you think that, thanks, baby. Do you think that women should want to be married under this contract, or do you think that they should be more accepting, or at least considerate of saying, hey, we can do this without the legal component of it?
Yeah, I'm 100% for marriage, and I'm 100% against marriage that involves the government. So I'm saying I'm for marriage, and marriage has its place in society. But the problem with the marriages that we have today, especially the problematic marriages, are because the government is involved. If the government wasn't involved, you would see a lot more successful marriages.
How so?
Because part of the problem is, like I said, the government has sway. So the government can dictate, like you have to work to, like, let's say something happens with the marriage, right? Because you had a license, the government can have control over your kids, or the government can put somebody on child support. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Whereas if you did not have that license, you could work things out better with your partner, with your spouse. It's the government involvement that is causing a lot of problems with marriages today.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the actual government involvement that is causing the problems, that is causing the divorces.
Okay, so Twaku, I see you agreeing over here. What's your thoughts? Do you agree?
Yeah, she 100 with it, man. That's all on point right there. I mean, for me, first of all, these are Christian marriages that we're in. No matter if we claim a Catholic, Muslim, it don't matter. These are Christian marriages, and the contracts are held by church and state, meaning the Vatican and the Crown. Mm-hmm. So right there, spiritually and consciously, these marriages are not good for our people. You know what I'm saying? And they're just contractual agreements, the same contractual marriage agreements that we were getting, and even in slavery. So it's the same thing, and that's why you could tell all the chaos that's behind them. Like she was saying, that's why, they not really good, not particularly for our people. Right. I think maybe an agreement with a marriage contract between two people would be just fine. But, there's a lot of women that don't even want to do that because they kind of want the legal marriage. The fantasy has been sold to our women, you know what I'm saying? That if you're not in this kind of marriage, you're not in a real marriage. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Because it's crazy for me. Because I'm just being honest, and I hear you guys, right? And it's okay to respectfully disagree. But I don't know, but I'm still listening. Like I said, I would not allow, and I mean, mother has lived, so I've gotten marriage proposals that have not been contractual. And I didn't take those to mean the same thing as a contractual marriage with the state. And it's because, just like we talked about with polygamy, some guys can manipulate that because they don't want to really be, locked into a situation. So they want to be able to quickly get out. And that's the thought process. And it's not the case every time, but I'm sure that does exist. I don't know what do you guys think about that?
I can tell you a solution to that. What people do, and when I say contract, I'm not saying that you don't get a marriage contract. What I'm saying is you don't get a license with the state. That's where all the problems come in. When you get a driver's license, when you get a marriage license, when you get a license to practice, what I want to say, law, when you get a license to practice medicine, it's the license that's the problem. It's not the contract. You can draw your own contract, get it notarized, and you can bring it to the county recorder's office. But it's not a license. The problem isn't the contract, it's the license.
It's a license, yes.
Right. So you can contract and have it legitimate and on the county recorder's it could be at the county recorder's office, or it could be anywhere you want it to be. You have papers, which is a part of the marriage contract, but you're not licensed by the state. That's where the problems come in.
Yeah.
And it's not
because it's like the
license you get, you're basically in bed with the state, and then they can dictate to you what to do and what you can't do.
Yeah, it's just that the license is like the contract that binds you to the state, where at this point they're governing over the union with you and your husband.
Exactly.
They're governing over that. Now they're telling you what to do and him what to do, and like it's like they're in between you. Just like how we used to have a white preacher in between us for marriages during slavery, it's the same deal. So these marriages, they personally are really, but it's up in the air because some want it, some don't. It's just all up in the air. But like she said though, your own contractual agreement will be perfect. That's perfect union right there, and that's between just you and this man or woman that you want to marry. That's perfect. They can't get in between that.
And the license, and forgive me for, like I said, I'm trying to understand myself. And the license comes in between what type of stipulations do they pose?
It's not like, written out stipulations. It's just that when you get a license, you give the state access to your marriage.
Yes.
How so, guys?
It's just
like I know one, and I think when you said it, the only example, one of the examples I came up with, because it's constantly and spiritually too that it happens. It's just like say if you in a relationship for 5-10 years, right, and everything's smooth, you got a perfect relationship, y'all getting along, okay, y'all might bicker a little bit, but not that much. Now you get married, and all of a sudden y'all arguing, can't stand being around each other. It just get crazy after a while. You're like, are you kidding me? But another example that I thought of was the tax thing. Like you both are gonna have to do like a separate tax with each other or a tax together. But right there they just all in your business. You know what I'm saying? And you're liable for her credit. He's liable for your credit. Y'all end up paying each other's defaults in that way. Like if you can't, he got to pay it if you can, or and vice versa. And like they just all in your business.
Yeah, would this be an example too? Like if let's say a guy has a child with another woman, and he's no longer with her, and he gets with another woman. They create a family, but the first woman decides that she's gonna sue him for child support, right? And so she's getting child support every month, and then when he gets married, she said, "Hey, I'm going to sue both of y'all for child support." Now, would that be an example? Because I do know people that has happened to. That the mother has taken back to court and sued the wife and the husband. Now,
I knew somebody that went through that.
That's the government.
Yep, that's the government. Yep, I've seen somebody that went through that before. So that's definitely a fact right there.
Well, I thank you guys for making that clear because, again, I didn't realize that. Thank you so much for that. Now, I want to move on to the last topic of tonight. And this is one that I think is really, really important because, at the end of the day, we all have, different things about ourselves, right? That make sure that if a marriage fails or, succeeds, right? And we're always working on ourselves to make ourselves better. So if I could just... I got my producer working on the show with me, and I'm working on it at the same time. So I'm trying to take off what she put on. Okay, and I'm gonna put the topic on. So here is our topic for the evening, and this is what we're gonna lead out with. And I'm gonna read it. Who really is one, right? Because it's the women that give birth to the children, right? It's the women. We gotta agree to get married. Right? We gotta agree to polygamy or whatever that family structure is gonna be. We have to agree with it. And I help but to look at sister wives and feel like I don't know if any of these people are really happy with this situation. And there's a thin line between being happy with yourself, especially when a lot of us are getting to know ourselves as we continue to grow, and just doing something that somebody else wants or suggests that you do. That's supposed to be happy. So I thought that this was a really big topic. Again, who really is one, right? The link between the female biology, cosmology, ecology relating to the earth, and religion. And Twaku, I'm going to let you start talking about this. This is a huge topic right here. So, like, what can you tell us about this?
Oh well, I think I sent you a link to Dr. W.A.G.E. He does this thing called the Woman Lecture, but I mean, gives you a basic foundation of it. But the woman's biology and psychology is linked to the moon. You know what I'm saying? Your whole menstrual cycle and everything is linked to the moon. They tell the doctors told women that they were bleeding out waste, but those are really eggs you bleeding out. The eggs that circulating as the tides, as the earth is pulling the tides in the oceans and the waters. Just pulling the eggs that's in your womb. If you're standing still, they're going to bleed out because they're not fertilized. This is happening during the moon cycle. Your menstrual cycle is your moon cycle. And during that time, you got different, like illuminating moon crescents. And during those different moon phases, y'all got different psychological things going on with you as far as like behavior, attitude, personality, things like that. It's all linked to the moon. And that's why man and woman and child, their psychology and biology is linked to the moon as well, and the stars and sun. But these are ancient teachings that our ancestors taught. Like even when you research a lot about the ancient Egyptians, they was big on cosmology and it's linked to biology. But it all starts with the woman's link to the moon.
Wow. So again, this was new information that I started to do.
And, yeah, one more thing. Sorry, one more thing. Religion is the thing that's keeping y'all away from that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like religion going to give you Jesus as the sun and give you Satan as the moon. You know what I'm saying? They're keeping you away from that cosmology that's linked you to your body.
Okay. We're gonna I don't know, Ayo, do you want to weigh in on that in any way? And then we're gonna go to some of the comments.
I pretty much agree with what he said, especially the ending part. We're not supposed to be religious people. We're supposed to be spiritual people. What I mean about that is we're supposed to basically, we don't need a middleman. We're supposed to have a relationship with the Creator, the Most High, God, whatever you want to call it. And you're supposed to also have a relationship with the world because we're all connected through energy. So we're supposed to be spiritual beings in a physical existence. Like this is our what they call a suit. But we are supposed to be spiritual. We're not supposed to be religious because religion is basically following what I want to say, traditions and following a doctrine or just doing the same thing over and over, just so that's that as far as that goes. As far as what a woman is nowadays, that's a loaded question because anybody can say they're a woman.
Nowadays.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Say, I feel as if
that's
I'm
another topic.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
I feel like I'm a woman, therefore I am a woman. It's like, it's like before a woman was clearly defined, but then there was always the issue of they have a small percentage of people who have, both male and female reproductive organs, you know what I mean? And they were called hermaphrodites. But as far as what is a woman, a woman is somebody who has like ovaries and a uterus and, can have children, or it's capable of having children, because not everyone not every woman can have children, but the I want to say the possibility of having children, that sort of thing. And
So-
and they have to be an adult. That's another thing. When people use the term male and female, that's just telling you the gender. But a woman is an adult female who is human. That's what a woman is, basically. That's the simple.
And both genders come from the woman. Both genders come from y'all anyway.
Exactly.
Because
exactly.
the testosterone and basically the feminine and masculine energy come from y'all. It only comes from one source, and that's the feminine source.
Right.
There's no way around that. Like man would really, I hate to say this, but man would be like a degenerate compared to natural woman. Yeah. It's just the truth, though. I mean,
Yeah, no,
a whole nother set, but I'm just keeping it real.
So let me interject this. When I say like what is a woman, I don't mean from a physical or a biological standpoint. So that's part of the topic. I mean metaphysical. Like when you're talking about the moon, like, who are we to the moon? Like, wait, what? So that kind of thing. And it's I want to, definitely delve into a little bit more. So I don't know if you want to share a little bit more, on that topic, Faku, about that, because I had never heard that.
Your link to cosmology has always been your spiritual side. That's always been our spiritual side. That was our ancient culture before what we have now with these religions. That's why I'm telling you, when you get a chance, get this book called Mami Wata, written by Mama Zobe. Volume 1 and 2, and she tells you how our culture was ancient cosmology and how it took them 2,000 years to give our people, our ancestors, Christianity.
Wow.
And then she also mentions how Christianity, we did not create that. They took from what we had and created their Christianity. And when you really get deeper into Christianity, it's all cosmology. Because the sun plays a part in our biology and psychology. But this is all linked to the woman first.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
So when you hear conversations that, again, were recently trending in terms of Bill Gates trying to do something to the sun, what's the link there that you can draw? Not like I can't guess.
See, I haven't really looked into that, but I know one thing: they do a lot of things to try to block the sunlight. Cause they got they got this thing. Oh my goodness, what is it called? Oh man, I wish Rod Khan was up here, because he sometimes when I forget things, he be filling in for me, But there's a machine that they use to actually control the weather and block the sun with those chemtrails. So it starts raining and stuff like that, and mess the weather up. Yeah, there you go, Harp. Thank you. Hey man, let me find out she's my next fill-in. I like that.
Thank you.
That was on point.
Bring everybody together. You understand? And the young people are aware. The young people.
Oh yeah. They're on it.
They know.
So let me
in
go.
Fact, it's older people who aren't willing to even investigate the information that we're talking about. The young people, they have no problem with it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's true.
Yeah, they really don't. You're absolutely right. It's really us. So what I'm going to do right now, guys, is I'm going to go to a few comments, and whoever wants to respond can. Let's see what we have here. We have a comment from Lafisha Kaur. She says, do you think it's frowned upon to have the ceremony of marriage, right? Understanding, but not no actual government contract, a marriage license? What do you think? The ceremony, marriage license, what do you guys think?
I can answer. At one time, yes, I could see how that would be a problem, but not nowadays. People don't even care that much anymore. It's like, it's more of a religious thing. And even when you talk to people who are religious, they have a different understanding too. Like, in fact, what I'm talking about, I learned from religious people. I've learned from different religious groups that the way around, because they are not for the government being a part of their spiritual union, So I learned this whole process through religious people.
Wow. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Sure. Basically, the Many problems that we have in society goes back to government interference. And part of the way that the government interferes within our lives, our personal lives, is through contracts, especially license contracts. You can form your own like two individuals can form a contract on a napkin or a piece of paper. That's not the issue. The issue is when you are contracted with the government and then you give them the ability to dictate what you can and cannot do. It's just like when you fill out an employment application. You're contracting yourself with the employer. The employer then can tell you you can go on vacation these days of the year, out of the year. You can go home to visit your family at this time of day. You can have lunch at this time of day. It's basically somebody else dictating to you as a real life human being what you can and cannot do.
Right.
So it's the same thing. Like I can contract with anybody at any time. That's not the issue. The issue is when the government is sticking their nose in your personal business. That's the problem. So you can still have a marriage contract that is upheld, is enforceable, but not have a marriage license.
Great. Interesting. Thank you, Ayo. Taco?
I mean, yeah, she's on point what she said, but I mean, it's frowned upon. It's frowned upon in some cases, but like she said, it's better to have the contract, and then at the end of the day, it's got to solely be on you. How do you feel in your spirit what you should have? You see what I'm saying? I mean, because some people will get the contract and just don't think it's good enough and turn around and get the license. You know how it goes sometimes. People just, so it's like, it's more what you think in your spirit. But I definitely agree with the sister, when she say the contract, that's the best thing you could do, the way I would look at it,
Yeah.
I think the license is too chaotic. And these people are all in your business. Basically, they're governing over your marriage, and you're both liable for each other. And if you move on, it's a possibility that you and your next mate will be liable for the one you just left.
That's
insane, right? But by law, this can
children.
happen.
Yeah. I don't mean to interrupt you. I was saying that the other
problem
is their control over your children. There are a lot of children involved here because the government just did not agree with the way you were raising your child.
I just want to.
They do that through the birth certificate also.
Exactly.
But I mean, we'll go on that on another note.
But that's another contract with the government. That's another contract.
Yes, exactly. Oh man, Sheila, we gonna have to do some things, Sheila, for real. We gotta go in, man.
So W.A.G.E doesn't only do shows. We have meetings where we are developing a support system for women, right? And today we had a meeting. It's funny. I want to just sidebar for a second because one of the topics that we discussed included how parents are getting, like when they get their kids taken away because they can't afford the kids, they're having some financial instability, and they're struggling. How the children in many instances have been given to, let's say, a family of a different culture, right? And once that family has those two kids, what they're doing, how it's set up via government is that they can use one kid to pay their car note, one kid to pay the mortgage. Meanwhile, listen, so they take the children. If the children can have piano lessons, karate lessons, swimming lessons, transportation to and from whatever great schools they can go to. But why is that financial assistance not given to the women?
Exactly.
But you can give it to the family that takes them. So this is a very problematic situation. And like I said, we're trying to come up with ways to deal with that through W.A.G.E, right? Because like I said, women have some very unique problems. Even coming home from incarceration, trying to get their kids back out of the system. If you have the money and the financial wherewithal to just give it to a family that's not related to that child, what you want the child to be with the parent, even if it's temporary, it's supposed to be to help the child. And remember, the child that us women are supposed to have, because we're not supposed to get abortions, right?
Right.
Telling us to do that. So we see some conflicts there, some things in the armor there. And it's very important because when we're talking about marriage and we're talking about building family, all of these things are relevant. You understand what I'm saying? So it takes us having these conversations. And while I listen to you guys, I'm still like, listen, you gotta go and get that marriage contract from that government, right? But listen, I don't know at all. It could be I'm conditioned to think like that.
That's exactly what it is.
You understand what I'm saying? So if
we had songs telling us that when we were kids, remember, I got papers on him, that they brainwashed us to think that way. Accident. Just the same thing with diamonds are a girl's best friend. That was brainwashing. That was nothing but propaganda.
But what about ain't nothing going on but the rent?
Exactly. You know what you just made me realize or remember? What I always do when I have a question about something, I always ask myself, what were people doing 1,000 years ago?
Right.
So people were getting married 1,000 years ago, but they did not have marriage licenses.
Exactly. Thank you.
Like I said, a real marriage is basically you standing up in front of your community and your family. Yes. And you are saying that I am marrying this person. So basically a marriage consists of having a ceremony, witnesses, and then a deed, which is that contract. A deed is different from a license. So you can still have papers on that person through the marriage deed. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't need
so let me ask you
license.
So let me ask you this. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, I was married before.
Right.
Never technically got a divorce, or maybe he's in another relationship. Getting a deed now. But that last wife had that government contract, right?
Right.
If he's on life support, that last wife has to say so whether he gets off life support. She gets whatever money he had because of that government contract. So it's a business, right? People don't want to look like that. And we might not like how it is now, but it is like that now. What happens to the woman who they had the deed for the last 25 years, forgotten all about that history, right? So what happens in that hypothetical?
Can I answer that, or do you want to get it, Twa? You want to get it?
No, I'm not good. You got the floor.
There's something for that too. This goes, and this one of the commenters said this too. It's all about governing yourself. What you can do is you can get a trust.
I had a comment for that though.
Yeah, you can get a trust, and then you can dictate in the trust who gets what money. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. You don't have to depend on the government for anything.
Okay, we're talking about a trust when most people don't even have a will, guys.
Yeah, that's true.
No, but I'm saying that's an answer to that. I'm saying that's an answer to that.
Yeah.
That's an answer to if you're going to get a deed for a marriage as opposed to, or I should say just a deed as opposed to a deed and a license, you can also dictate who gets the proceeds of your marriage. Should it dissolve or should someone die? You can also dictate it, and that's through a trust or through setting. You can set something up where you can dictate, like you said, a will can dictate that as well. And it doesn't have anything necessarily to do with the government. So so that I'm just saying that's a way around. That's a way that you can get around an issue of a previous marriage. Okay, we're gonna have a power of attorney. Speaking of, like, if you're on your deathbed, you can do a power of attorney, and you can say your child can be the power of attorney for you.
Yeah,
and that's upheld in the court. So it's just about preparation and thinking ahead, as opposed to the government automatically having de facto say in the situation. If you set things up properly, you can still go around the marriage license, and you can set up your own power of attorney, you can set up your own will, you can set up your own trust.
Good stuff, guys. You better take notes. So I could respond to the same question.
Yeah, all I wanted to say on the self-governance thing is there's three keys to self-governance. You know what I'm saying? Is land, resources, and a standing army. That's all I got to say about the self-governance thing. Like, I've done a lot of research on that, the nationality thing, all that, and the three things we would definitely need is land, resources, and a standing army.
Mm-hmm.
Elaborate a little bit. I already know
We
this
can't
answer.
even be yeah, I mean, we can't even be a real nation state without land and resources because we wouldn't have the economic power that we would need here. You see our economic power at this point right now. We own 1/2 of 1% of the wealth in this country.
Absolutely.
And these are the reason why that is happening to us because we don't have land, resources, and a standing army to protect the economics, which would be the land and resources.
Right. Right.
That's self-governance right there. Look, I hate to bring them up, but the Ashkenazi Jews, that's why they got a nation state called Israel, which they took part of Palestine. They came with a standing army, took the land and the resources there, and now they're a nation. They're the 52nd nation to the United States of America. They made themselves a nation with a nationality through self-governance.
So while these ideas are actually real, I'm sure some people are just hearing that for the first time in their lives, and they really need to know that. And I just want to just repeat one more time before I go to our youth who have joined us. Right? Just one more time. What was those three things we need to govern ourselves?
Land, resources, and a standing army.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Please let's hear welcome Jessica Bill. Jessica Bill has come.
Hello, Jessica.
Hi, Jessica.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
We always
How are you? Can you hear me?
And make you part of the conversation. Jessica had a few comments to add. She wanted to come on. Jessica, anything that you want to state or question, please.
Okay, I just want to say thank you guys for this wonderful broadcast, talking about things that we really need to talk about and to understand. The self-governing is definitely something that we need to do. You said who? Yeah, and all of this, we do need to do that. One thing that the fella forgot to mention was the law. We need to have lawyers. We need to have a lawyer system. The war, have an army, in case war against the government. These things we do need. I mean, we all know that they're plotting on us, as a human race. You guys are talking about the sun. You guys talk about a lot of things that me and a lot of people that I know who are prosthetic, we've been studying. And so the things that you guys are talking about is very accurate. You're right on time. And the time is coming. We need to also grow our own food. We need to have hospitals. Like I said, lawyers. We need to have all of those things. And actually, to self-govern, there already has been put in place. Miss Sheila had a friend of mine called Aaron Farwell who has been doing this for a long time, studying these things. And it's called Aboriginal Republic of America, I believe. The self-govern organization is for us to follow. You guys speaking about this is an opportune time. And I just thank you for that. I also wanted to add the issue with the sun. I mean, we understand why they're manipulating the weather in the sun. We know the sun will get hotter. It will get hotter on the earth. And when it does get hotter, the others will not be able to survive. And so the melatonin, the kidnapping of our children, all of these things. I mean, I can't really say too much. I don't even know if I should be saying this, but right now. But you guys.
So let me just interject and say that as a youth, right? Because you're significantly younger than us. The fact that you question whether you should or not you should be saying those things, it lends credence to what Paku was talking about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, well, we know.
Yeah,
we know.
Consideration. And not only that, I want to just double back today. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but Senator Rice, who is the only African American male that sits in New Jersey right now on the Senate, He was taken ill, he stepped down, and we just found out about it a week ago. And there's already talks about who's going to go in his seat. And it's like, wait a minute, I thought this was a democracy. Can the people weigh in at all? Do the holders have anything to contribute here? So I was just saying earlier, and it's funny that you said that. If it's not a democracy, just stop lying to me. If you're going to select whoever is the representative for us, and we're not selecting that, like, that's not okay. It could be going on, but we have a right to feel respectfully that that's not okay. And when we have our youth with legitimate concerns, and they have to question whether or not it's okay to say it, that's an issue that really needs to be dealt with. And I'm not saying that it has to be crass or way over the top, but what I'm saying is anger, frustration, anxiety is still just as love, right? And we wage love on this wage, and love, we can't love somebody else until we love ourselves first. And I think that's important. So I just want to say thank you for you guys for coming on. I'm going to just keep the comments and make sure I didn't leave anything. Yes, I did. Maybe you guys can answer this. One last question. Never knew you could have a deed for your marriage without an actual license. Very important. Thank you for that, Lovey. And we were glad that we were able to give you that information. And just a reminder, I hope you guys took some notes on the topics that we talked about this evening. But like I said earlier in the show, I'll give you the shovel. It's up to you to start digging for yourself. Don't just take our word. Write something on the topic. I don't know if you want to mention those books that you just mentioned, Truffy, once again.
What did you just say?
You mentioned some books earlier. You mentioned some books.
Yeah, Mama W.A.G.E. That's the author, and the name of the book is called Mami Wata, MAMIWATA. The author name is Mama W.A.G.E, MAMAZOGBE. Volume 1 and 2. Very good books.
Excellent.
Brings you back to our real, most ancient culture.
Excellent. Listen, I thank each and every one of you for coming on. I invite anyone who did not come on. Any and all youth are invited to participate, be a part of the discussion. If you haven't shared the show already, continue to do so. And again, I just want to thank Ayo and Waku for coming on and sharing their mass levels of wisdom. You taught me so much. You got our young people involved, and that's what it's all about. This education and getting the questions to come to the forefront. Thank you, and until next time, peace, love.
Bye.
Love.
Found a 14-year-old boy with a record of drug. Found a 14-year-old boy with a record of drug arrests was shot and killed. It was the 10th fatal shooting or stabbing in Newark in 10 days.
Another deadly shooting investigation is underway tonight in Newark. This comes after a wave of violence erupted.
First, let me introduce.
10, 9, 8.
Found a 14-year-old boy with a record of drug arrests was shot and killed. It was the 10th fatal shooting or stabbing in Newark in 10 days.
Another deadly shooting investigation is underway tonight in Newark. This comes after a wave of violence erupted.
First, let me introduce y'all to the mayor, and I'm saying mayor because that's what it is. Some call me SHEILA or Silver Bullet, just know I'm all about handling biz. First, we're gonna start by saving the kids, making the city a safe place to live. Unlike some people, that's all about self. My only mission right now is to give, and now it's feeling like Resident Evil with all of these fake political leaders. They need to go sit in the bleachers and just stay motivational speakers. Being the mayor is not for the weak. Got my feet on the ground and I'm out in these streets. You can show me with action, it's not what you speak. Say you for the city ain't beat. Lit the city on fire, we're walking through ashes. Parents are tired of giving you passes. Why are our children not learning in classes? Teach about businesses, real estate taxes. Fighting to keep low income housing. So much corruption, it's astounding. Team North, we can't allow that. And there ain't no way to get around that. Nothing but change when you vote for me. Time to get back where we supposed to be. Open the door, open the door.